Hey guys, how are we doing today? My name is Brendan Bromley, and well, here's the thing. I was going to complete the 31 Days of Horror in October. It just never happened. I'm sorry, I am sorry. I feel bad for it. But hey, I finally decided, you know what, I want to finish this thing because I love talking about horror movies, and I love talking about the old horror movies, and I love talking about new horror movies, and trust me, I got a lot to talk about. And well, as for today, we got two more classic horror movies to talk about. What are they? Well, it's that dead-looking guy and this hypnotic fuck right here. So, well, let's start out with Dracula. Dracula made in 1931, stars Bela Lugosi, and he's definitely the most iconic form of the character. But what is this movie even about to make this guy so iconic? It's about a lawyer named Jonathan Harker. He travels all the way out to Transylvania to talk to Dracula about a property transaction, to make sure that a property transaction is completed. And while when he's there, he slowly starts to realize that the person, Dracula, that he's been working with is not who he says he is. He's secretly very sinister, and he has some very peculiar things about him. His castle is a mess, there are animals all over the place, he doesn't take care of it, and he seems to just be a very off-putting yet charming guy. After Jonathan Harker has his mind taken over by Dracula, Dracula travels to England, where he slowly starts to consume and feast on those there by sucking the blood out of them and turning Jonathan Harker's own wife, Mina Harker, into his personal bride. And it all takes the help of one man named Victor Van Helsing to stop Dracula. And can they stop him in time? Well, just watch the movie to figure it out. So right away, I'm going to say this. This was one of the earliest movies to ever have sound. Sound was I believe, established in 1928 with a movie that came out within the same year. With this movie, because sound was a brand new thing and they're trying to really work it into movies, this movie is very, very, very silent. Therefore, it's very creepy because of it. The movie itself is extremely creepy, and it's all largely due to one thing. Bela Lugosi as Dracula. His stare that he gives you, it's horrifying, okay? Imagine you walking down a street and just you turn the corner and that's the first person you see. You'd be sprinting in the other direction, or if you decide to walk past him, you just would not try to look. You would definitely not try to look at this guy. This guy is very creepy. The other part of this movie that is truly good is the characters themselves. Obviously, this is based off of the Bram Stoker novel of the same name. And the thing about this movie is that it actually does a very good job being faithful to the book, aside from a few certain areas that Bram Stoker's Dracula, the 1992 film, does a lot better. Mainly with the idea of the idea that he's a Romanian king. Aside from that, this movie all around is incredibly creepy. The black and white just adds to this movie's timelessness, if you will. The lack of sound, the lack of speaking really is just makes this movie an all-around creepy film. Is it as creepy as Nosferatu? Absolutely not. But the lack of music in certain scenes makes this movie horrifyingly creepy. And for it, I'm going to give Dracula 1931 a 9 out of 10. Now on to my favorite of the two, Frankenstein. At least my favorite for these two movies in particular. Frankenstein, also made in 1931, follows a doctor. Dr. Frankenstein, to be exact. See, most people don't realize that, but the Frankenstein monster is not what is called Frankenstein. It's the name of the doctor, not the monster. Anyways, it follows the doctor and he starts to dig up body parts from a grave, and he decides to experiment with life, play God if you will. He takes the body parts that he steals from graves and he stitches them all back together and electrocutes them, and what do you know? He creates a monster. But this monster, he doesn't exactly know what's right and wrong. Therefore, he accidentally kills a kid. And when that happens, all hell breaks loose. The townspeople start to lose their mind, go after the creature, go after Dr. Frankenstein himself, and Dr. Frankenstein, thinking people are bad after that, with all the townspeople going after him, he starts to attack other people, and oh my god. This movie is really good. This is a really good, suspenseful, and very iconic movie. Especially with the line, "It's alive." When the doctor screams, "It's alive," when the creature finally comes to life, is one of the most iconic movie lines I think ever said. This movie, played by, where Frankenstein is played by Boris Karloff. Actually, believe it or not, this movie was actually originally supposed to go to Bela Lugosi, and Bela Lugosi was, believe it or not, supposed to be the original guy to play Frankenstein. But anyways, Frankenstein, played by Boris Karloff, is great. Surprisingly, with no words at all, mainly just grunts. He has a lot of character to him. And he's not just an evil guy right off the bat. He starts to play with this little kid and this little girl that he's playing with, like tossing flowers onto a pond. Him not knowing any better, grabs the little girl and tosses her into the water. But she dies. She drowns. And he feels bad. He runs away. The townspeople come after him. The thing is that this movie is very relatable, and it works all around. Would I say it's scary? No. But would I say it's entertaining? Absolutely. It's personally my favorite out of these two. However, I will admit, I do think this movie has a few more problems than Dracula. This movie, Frankenstein, is a little bit boring at times, whereas with Dracula, even if it is silent, it's still pretty creepy. You're still at least a little bit entertained. There's always something happening. With this movie, there are many scenes of people just talking, or maybe them digging up a grave site, and sometimes it just gets a tad bit boring. Outside of that, the makeup is good, the acting is good, the action is good. This is a very iconic movie with excellent writing, also based off of a very famous novel made by Mary Shelley. Frankenstein is also a classic in cinema, and therefore I'm going to give this movie, the same as Dracula, a 9 out of 10. Alright guys, there you go. We just went over Dracula and Frankenstein. I'm sorry it's taken so long to finally get back to these videos, but I'm going to try and film it all, like as many as I can within this week, and get up as many as I can within this week. So therefore I can have it all done, all out of the way, and finally get to talking about some really good new movies I've seen. So there you go. My name is Brandon Brownlee. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Whatever day, night, time you're watching this. See you all next time.